somebody have a request of a song?
We'll join you in whichever you pick. We'll join you in whichever you sing.
Okay. We'll do Jay on deck.
Okay.
But not to play with the door, okay? Just let the door go, because that could be a dangerous door with glass.
Ganesha? Jai Ganesha?
Sure, great one. Always good. We should have started with that. But we've done Ganesh all morning.
All morning, yeah.
Every puja we start with Ganesh.
Ganesha.
Now we'll have a discourse if you would like to stay. We're going to hear one about Narada. Narada is, well, I think one of the mind sons of Rama. And he wanders around with his lute, a beautiful veena that he plays, and always seems to show up at the right time to tell a great story. And right now, the setup is that Vedavyasa, who wrote this beautiful book, which we've all read the long version, but we have a shorter one that's a little easier to do a discourse from. The Srimad Devi Bhagavatam. And our Sastriji always read the whole thing throughout our Navratris, and they continue. We don't read the whole thing. Actually, we have undertaken reading the whole thing during this COVID period. So every day I've done a discourse. Hamadeti Bhagavatam. Let's put this up here. But anyway, so Vedavyasa wrote this beautiful Purana, the Srimad Devi Bhagavatam. And Vedavyasa, though, there's many stories that go on and on and on. He actually was the father of Pandu, one of the father of the 5 Pandavas. The story of the Bhagavad Gita and the Mahabharata. So when the Pandavas were sent into exile, he was very concerned. These are his grandchildren. So he kept going into the forest to check on them to make sure they were okay. So he's talking to Narada and saying, what kind of Muni am I that I'm so attached to my grandchildren that I can't spend a moment without thinking of them? So Vedavyasa says, the fact is that when we're in these bodies, as you know, as contemplative and connected can be, we still are influenced by Maya, the great mother, Mahamaya, and the 3 gunas of the tamasic, the rajasic, and the sattvic. And so, indeed, it's not unheard of that great saints and munis, and he said, even I, Narada, the mind son of Brahma, certainly has done this too. So he goes on, this is a great story. So he's sharing with Vedavyasa a time that he got caught by Maya. So let's go on and listen to this great story. Narada says, the point I am making, O Vedavyasa, was that no creature, great or small, is totally free of desire, delusion, anger, envy, vanity, and the inevitable suffering they bring. All that exists is pervaded by the 3 gunas of nature, sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic. Everything that happens in the 3 worlds is by these 3 essences of nature. All existence is Maya, the Divine Mother. Why, once I was walking through a forest with Bhagavan Vishnu, suddenly the strangest transformation came over me. Would you like to hear what happened? Asked Narada. I would indeed, cried Vedavyasa, for these stories of Narada's were marvelous. The power of Maya is incomprehensible to the wisest of the wise. Once I was seized with an irresistible urge to go see my Lord Vishnu. I set out from Satyaloka, my veena in my hand, and went to the Rishi Marga, to Sweta Dvipa, the blessed island where Vishnu dwells. I went singing my favorite Sama hymns. Soon I walked into Vishnu's presence, and my heart was full. He was illustrious and 4-armed, with a Sudarsana chakra in his hand. His presence was a great fresh rain cloud, and his skin was smoky blue, the hue for which he is known as Shyama. He was in folded silk, and a great ruby shone like the red star on his deep chest. He wore a sparkling crown on his head. But, Muni, he was not alone. Lakshmi was with him. She covered herself quickly when she saw me and ran to the next room. But I asked, Lord, why did Lakshmi leave as soon as she saw me? I'm a rishi and a master of my desires. Vishnu said to me, as Lakshmi was, a woman should never be seen before another man, whoever he may be, Narada. The greatest rishis are deluded by Maya. Why? You love music so much. Isn't music sensual? Aren't the sweetest songs also Maya's enchantments? Maya is a mysterious and subtle Narada. No one has ever conquered her. I was amazed. I said, what is this Maya truly like, Lord? Show her to me. Maya is everywhere. If you need, I think out in the lawn there's chai and some kind of snacks if you need to take the baby out there.
Yeah, we need to use the restroom.
You could. I'm going to go on with the reading, but you know where it is, up in the
Yes.
dormitory. Yeah. I was amazed. I said, "What is this Maya truly like, Lord? Show her to me." And Vishnu said, "Maya is everywhere, Narada. Her nature is the three gunas. She is the foundation of all existence. But if you would like to see her, come with me." He summoned brilliant Garuda with just a thought, and we climbed astride on the great eagle. Vishnu spoke no word to Garuda, but he knew exactly where to go. Swift as the wind, he flew us across the continents, over mountains and jungles, rivers laid with threads upon the earth, villages and cities of men, fields like emerald carpets, tanks, and saw many animals. There was a crystal-like lake there, overgrown with the most vivid lotuses. All sorts of water birds swarmed on its bank and swam on its clear surfaces. The sounds of goose and teal were everywhere. It was a charmed place where teeming flocks of pink flamingos fished. Garuda set us down softly, and Vishnu took me by my hand and said, "Come, Narada, let's have a bath in this lake. You go first, and I will follow you." I gladly set aside my deer skin and my veena and walked into the water. I tied my hair up, pulled up some kus grass, then grew near and performed Archmanya. The water was cool and invigorating, and with the beautiful lotuses on it. I plunged in Vyasa, and I began to bathe. After my first immersion, I turned and I saw Vishnu gazing at me with a strange look in his eye. I felt the queers tingling in my body, and when I looked down at myself, I cried out, "Veda Vyasa, I was turned into a woman." I stood thunderstruck and saw Vishnu pick up my veena and my deerskin. Smiling, he mounted on Garuda and flew into the sky. As he went away, it seemed he took my memory with him, for I was no longer remembered who I was. I forgot all about Narada and his veena. Why, I even forgot the Lord Vishnu. In a daze, I came out of that lake, mother naked and ravishing too, and sat on the velvet mosses on the lake's side, gazing out over the breeze-swept water, wondering who I was and how I got here. Suddenly I heard horses' hoofs behind me and turned to see a handsome king staring at me. He called to me, "Lovely one, who are you? Are you a Nagin? Are you an Aspara? Are you a Gandharvi? Are you a Devi? Ah, whoever you are, do you belong to any man? If you don't, please marry me, for I have lost my heart to you," said Narada. Narada continued his amazing story. That king's name was Taladbaja, and when he proposed to me so forthrightly, I thought earnestly for a moment and said, "I don't really know whose daughter I am. I do not know who my father and mother are at all. All I know is that this dark man brought me here to this lake. He also has gone away, and I do not know where. My lord, I don't even know my own name. I am an orphan, and I am lost and helpless. Will you help me?" The king asked a golden palanquin to be fetched, some fine silk clothes for me, and he took me home with him to his palace. Muni, you will understand, I no longer knew who I was. Within the week, and an auspicious day, that king took me for his wife with all the ceremonies. The king named me Sobhagya Sundari, and I was dear to him in his life. Day and night, he wanted just to be with me, and he was a handsome Kshatra, and we spent most of our time in wonderful pursuits. We would both drink quantities of Varuni, and we ranged the kingdom and took all the beautiful time we wanted to be in love. I knew only that the king's ardor and remembered nothing of being a Muni. I didn't know anything about the Vedas or the Shastras. Thus, my friend, 12 years flitted by as if they were just some weeks. One day I realized I was pregnant, and the king was elated, and he spent all the time taking care of me, anything I wanted. He brought me lotuses for my hair and silks from the ships that came across the sea. In time, I was delivered of a son, to the king's delight, no bounds, and he named that first son Veera Varma. 2 years later, and then I became pregnant again, and I had yet another son. When in time, O Vedavyasa, I gave birth to 12 boys and spent my days raising them. Our lives were perfectly happy, and soon all the princes came to age, and we found suitable brides for them. Before we knew it, the king and I had become grandparents. Our palace was full of bright voices and laughter, and all the things that are most precious to human happiness. Of course, I grew increasingly entangled in attachment. No trace of who I really was remained, either upon my person or in my mind. Only when any of our children were ill did I suffer. But soon our sons and their wives fought amongst themselves, and then I did feel anguish and was helpless against time's ravages that all the living must endure. I sank deeper and deeper into the bondage of samsara. Why, I grew proud thinking of what a good wife I was, and what an able mother, what a kindly mother-in-law and loving grandmother. I also thought of myself as a sage queen who had her husband's ear. But fate moves on and sweeps everything before her. My husband had an implacable enemy in the king of the neighboring kingdom. One day, this king arrived with his legions to attack. And our kingdom was besieged. And my sons and my grandsons rode out to defend their city. The battle was swift and savage. All my children were slain. My husband barely escaped with his life, and the enemy rode away, having achieved the revenge he wanted for an old slight. I went wailing into the battlefield. Grief ripped through me, and I could hardly stand it. I flung myself across my sons and grandsons' dismembered and sometimes decapitated bodies, and my screams ran across the fields. Just then, Lord Vishnu arrived there in the guise of an ancient and splendid Brahmana. He said to me conversationally, "Why are you crying, gracious woman? You seem to belong to a very good family and to be a woman of wealth besides. Your tears are caused by moha. You are too attached. You are deluded. Go and bathe at some sacred tirtha and offer til and tarpanam for your dead. Stop tormenting yourself, beautiful queen. Come with me. I will take you to an auspicious tirtha not far from here. If you bathe there, you will find peace." I rose and followed that lustrous Brahmana blindly, and with me was my stricken husband, the king. I could not for the life of me tell you why or where we went, except that I was desperate, and somehow I felt sure the Brahmana would ease my anguish. We arrived at the lake called Pumitirtha. The Brahma said to me, "Go and bathe now. Just think that you have lived 1,000,000 lives before this one, and each one you had sons and daughters and grandsons. Tell me, for which of them will you grieve? All the world is an illusion, dear lady, more than you know. Embodied souls inherit suffering, anguish, and little else. Enter the water, it will bless you with peace." He stood on the bank with a faint smile on his lips. My eyes swimming with tears, I walked into that lake. As I immersed myself, strange calm washed over me in tide, as if a sea of peace swept me away from my grief. I rose spluttering from the water. Lo, I was Narada again. The Lord Vishnu, who was also became himself, dark blue and clad in folded yellow. He stood, smiled at me, and cried, "Ah, Narada, you are taking your own time with your bath. Come on now, hurry a little. I have stood here for a very long time." The king, Talabhaja, was astounded to see me, Narada Muni, with tangled jata piled up upon my head, weighed out from the lake into which his queen had gone for a bath. For a time he had quieted his grief over our children's death, but now he began to wail loudly. My love, where are you? First I have lost my sons, and now my queen is snatched from me. Have you drowned yourself in grief? Or does a shark or crocodile lurk in this lake? This is not the time to abandon me, my queen. How will I bear my sorrow without you at my side? Ah, my life is over. Only men were allowed to commit sati when their wives died. Now Vishnu spoke gently to the king, saying, haven't you ever read the Shastras, O king, that you succumb to sorrow like this? Haven't you learned that the union of wives and sons in this world is momentary, like people crossing a river in boats meeting? All that happens in this world is by fate. There's no use crying. This is where you found your queen, and now you've lost her as well. What time gave you, it has taken from you. You never really know. You never really knew who she was. It is like the tale of the crow and the tall fruit. You gained her magically, and so too you have lost her. Don't cry anymore. King, go home and know that time rules you. No man can conquer time. Not for all your tears will your queen return to you. Go back to your city and rule wisely. Tread the path of yoga and find peace for yourself. Everything in this life is transient. Only the truth never changes. It is rare to be blessed with a human birth, O Kshatriya. A man should do everything in his power to attain moksha. That king who was in the grip of such shock grew calm at what Vishnu said to him. Though he still saw Narayana only as a bright Brahman, the king bathed in the lake and returned to his city. There he slowly gave his power into the hands of his grandsons that still lived, and then took to sannyasa in the forest, where one day he did gain nirvana. When the king left Vishnu and me beside the magic lake, the Lord began to laugh heartily. I said to him, Vishnu, mine is powerful indeed, but Lord, how did I lose my memory so entirely when my soul was my own all the time? For how else could I remember every moment of Sundari's life as I do? Yes, every moment, and I blush to think of some of them. Vishnu said, there are more dreams and lives in your body than you realize, Narada. They all exist together, for the mind is a miraculous thing, and it is much more than any man realizes. The mind itself is Maya. Muni, when you sleep, do you remember what you dream? Yet while you are asleep, all that happens in your dreams is real enough, isn't it? All lives are dreams of one kind or another. They are all the work of Maya, and Maya is inscrutable, even to me, Lord Vishnu. With that, we mounted Garuda again and flew back to Sveta Dvipa, said Narada Muni to me. We always live in the midst of fathomless mystery, and try as we will, we can never comprehend it with our minds. We can only surrender ourselves in bhakti to the Divine Mother and to the merciful Devi Bhagavati. Jai Mahamaya ki jai, Vishveshwari Mata ki jai, Haryakandeshwari Mata ki jai. So I think now we'll go up and take a look at our beautiful Divine Mother before we finish this little video. You can see how beautiful our mother looks today in her white. It's a beautiful story, though, that helps us all understand. There's Mother, and there's Baba next to her. That's where we... Beautiful Hare Kandeshwari Mata ki jai, Vishveshwari Mata ki jai. And we'll be back tomorrow at 9 a.m. with a Devi Puja at our little altar where we'll be honoring Mother Lakshmi. And then again at 11 for our Sacred Fire ceremony, followed by Discourse and Chanting. Whether it's on the Ramlochi Wood channel or the Ashram Facebook channel is hard to say because Facebook keeps changing things on the business page. But we're happy to be here with you, and it'll all be posted on YouTube later. Bole Baba Ki Jai.